Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Australian eCrit series powered by KISS. My name is Jesper Anker, and as always, I'm joined by the ever funny Wesley Salzberg. How you doing, Wes?
I'm good. I'm pedaling away here, Jasper. I'm actually set up on a bike at the moment.
You're set up on a bike? What are you doing?
I'm currently set up in the new Zwift office in Melbourne, so I've just set up in the spin room for today uh,
Exciting.
to make to make sure that when it gets really riveting towards the end, I can do a little bit of a sprint with the races.
See, the funny thing is, I've sat on a bike before while doing a commentary, and what happens is once you come to the end of the race and you get into the sprint, you actually end up spinning faster, and you actually end up producing a bit of watts because you get so excited. So we should hook you up to Zwift, and we'll see a little graph at the bottom there, skyrocket. But Wes, we're doing the Kids Australian eCrit series for the third week of runnings now. We're still in the preseason, so it's not the actual season that's started yet. There are no points on the line right now. It's just all fun and games. You get back into the groove. You've been outside. You've been sunbathing. It's raining outside, so you jumped on Zwift. Wes, what exactly can the viewers and the racers expect from today's broadcast?
Well, today, always the eCrit series, that all these races know that a warm-up is crucial because these eCrit races just start out of the hole, so it's above threshold. So each one of these riders, if you're new to Zwift as well, are hooked up to a bike. So the avatars that you see on the screen, they'll be racing with the power of their legs. So it's not just a game controller, it's actually hooked up to a bike with a smart trainer is ideally what you want to use. Otherwise, you can use a power meter source. So there's a couple of different ways to get onto using Zwift with the right software, hardware. So these races tonight will be doing 6 laps of the racing circuit, so 38 Ks in total. And like I said, this start of this race is the most aggressive, and Jesper, we see a fair few names there tonight as
We
well, but a
do.
good turnout compared to last week.
I think the accumulative effect of having done 3 broadcasts now on the eCrit, it's just brought all the Australian like top end tier Swifters out of the shed and into the studio because we see Pat Shaw of ISO Away, Wanty, or whatever the long name is for the team he's representing is on course. We see Cameron Roberts, who's been in every race so far. We see Linton Savatsky, who won last week's sprint in the Volcano. I also see the Brit James Hodges, who raced yet again within the span since the last eCrit, and he is always a guy to look out for. He may not be Australian, but he still throws a spanner in the works in the race. The race gets off in 25 seconds. Today, we will actually be reading all the comments here on Facebook or a Mixer or on Twitch or wherever you're watching. So Wes will be reading them and responding to them as they come in. So if you have any questions in regards to what you're seeing on the screen, because it may be new to you, it may not be. You may be asking of some of the riders. Don't be afraid, ask away, maybe even leave a like or a love on the stream to show that you do appreciate the effect that the riders are going. But Wes, without further ado, the start banner has been given and we're off to a fast start. What are we seeing, Wes?
We're seeing 664 watts. So we're watching Polly here. We've seen Polly a couple of weeks back who's racing, so it's good to see him back again tonight. And they are going out of the holes here. So this first probably, I guess, 3 minutes, the racers will go over threshold. So they're going at power they can't sustain. So they're going to have to ease back that power. But for now, everyone's going holes out, and it will usually settle after about 2 to 3 minutes. But this is just hang on for now.
What are you doing, Wes? What are you doing on your head?
I'm disconnecting my mic because can you hear me a little bit better now? Johnny was saying that
Yes.
my mic was a little bit distant, so I'm actually going to have to ride and hold my mic, and that's fine.
Yes, it's much better now, but it was since you were on the great course that is the London course, you were like out of the side doing whatever. It was pretty fun to watch, so that was interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad I got that sorted now. So yeah, hopefully you can hear me well there. Looks like we've got a fair few people tuned in. We've got Danny over saying hello on Facebook. We've got Ben Hill who's watching as well. So good to see Ben in there. And is Ben racing tonight? Ben Hill? So
I have
Ben
not
Hill's,
seen Ben on the
racing.
start list. Ben was very active in last year's eCrit. I believe he started the race series as a recuperation method, as he had broken his collarbone or his arm or whatever, and then he just stuck around.
Yeah, and he had actually had a bad fall later in the year last year as well, and actually broke his back. And so he's been using Zwift for his recovery as well. So I connected up with Ben, so I have to have a bit of a chat with him. Hopefully, we can see him maybe join in the series as
Really?
well. But yeah, we're getting a fair few hellos there, Jesper, and good to see that this racing has taken off with a pretty furious start. Pat Shaw in there as well. So Pat was very love that. We would call them a kilometre sprint. Pat would say it was an attack, but he pretty much sprinted for the whole kilometre of some of these stages, didn't he? Especially on the London Loop. That was his trademark.
It's with all the respect I have and all the love I have for Pat Shaw, but his attention span when it comes to racing is very short. He gets bored really quickly, so he says, I'm going to light it up. I'm just going to make everyone hurt. If I win in the most spectacular fashion ever. If I go out in a blazing glory of fire, so be it. It's always fun to watch Pat Shaw. He qualified for the finale last year, and I believe he was nipped by the WP Task Boys.
He was nipped by the WP Task Boys, so they worked together really well as a team. So they had the captain who didn't make the final, but always had the hashtag wildcard for Nadsy. He was there in spirit and there on the night. So it's great. We're getting a little bit more feedback saying also the audio isn't great. Is that my end, Jasper, or is that yours? So just make sure that
I believe so.
Okay.
I can hear you. They may be on an older ones. I think as it is right now, I think we're just going to stick with it because there's not much we can do as the racing is already underway. We've got the ever great Johnny Noblet on production listening in. So just as it's preseason, West, for the racers, it's also preseason for you and me because we've been busy with all sorts of things behind the scenes, and this is not something you just walk into. There's actually a lot of work going into this, Wes.
There is a fair bit of work going into this. So, and these races do take this very seriously. They'll do a lot of work out the road as well. And one of the questions we've just got across on Facebook now is that you might be able to answer this, Jesper. It's probably a good one for you. I've seen some of your Cycling Hub videos. Is it possible to actually wreck on Zwift and crash on Zwift with a smart trainer?
Why are you redirecting that question to me, Wes? Where's the love, everybody? Yes, it's possible to wreck on Zwift. If you go too hard, or if you've not attached your bike correctly on a smart trainer like the Neo, I myself have managed not once but twice to tumble over because my sprinting style is just so ugly and so inefficient that it imbalances the trainer. Have you ever done it, Wes?
No, I haven't. I know a few people have. It looked like you just clicked on B Hill there. So it was B Hill and it looked like it was a postcode after it or something, 742.
It was Ben.
So
it was Ben in the
looks like,
Canberra kit.
So it looks like, Ben's actually racing. So I'm not sure where the numbers are on the end of his name. 7497. I think that's maybe a postcode. I'm not sure. So we'll have to ask Ben about that later on. So it looks
Social Security.
Looks like he's got things. Yes, he's got things wrapped up underway. Looks like I think whatever postcode it is, he's pretty sure he's going to deliver. So Ben Hill is going to be on tonight. So it looks like, and we've also got Albie in there in the Rafa CC kit. So Albie is actually racing in the Melbourne clubhouse tonight on Queen Street. So he's actually, if you want to check him out, I think he's got the door open there and racing in the Rafa clubhouse.
So this is the course we're doing today, Wes. It is 6 laps of the Classics course. We're going to have to do that hill about 7 times in total. You can see the riders out on course. Leonard is a very aggressive rider. Cameron Roberts, never shy of attacking. James Hodges is up there. Albie, as you mentioned. We at what point do we just get a live feed into Albie in the Rafa Club? Just have a web camera up in the corner watching him suffer, because that'd be really fun to watch.
Yep, leave that with me. We can try that out for maybe possibly next week. Because there's a competition running at the moment through Sydney and Melbourne Rafa clubhouses. So you can actually win a Zwift setup. So you can win a kicker, and you can also win a Apple TV and 12 months worth of Zwift subscription. So you can get really set up.
How do I sign up?
How do you sign up? You go in and try Zwift out in the clubhouse. So go in, have a ride, sign up, and a chance to win. So that's in Sydney and also in Melbourne.
I'm getting the next flag.
So you're going to get
back. See you later.
Yeah.
If you're going to stop by anyway, why not just jump on and have the chance to win all that swag? That sounds pretty neat.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a really good chance to try Zwift out as well. If you're watching this and you don't, you haven't had the opportunity to try it out, I'm sure a lot of your friends are telling you to jump on and get involved. So this is the opportunity for you to check it out yourself.
Well, we have that little tidbit of information if you are an Australian local. We have a three-man breakaway after front. We got Cameron Roberts, who is in that Giro d'Italia pink kit, which I now figured out what it was because James Hodges was in it last week. Once you complete
Yeah.
half of the current mission on Zwift, which is the Giro d'Italia mission, there pops up a notification on screen saying, hey, good job getting halfway. To encourage you to get the rest of the way, here is the leader's jersey of the Giro d'Italia, and now right to the end. Cameron Roberts, Leonard, and Chu from Taiwan, I believe, is out in the front. Then in the peloton further back, Linton Savatsky, Wes's Wheels, also known as Greg Watson, is in there. We have Ben Hill, Adrian Timmis, a really, really strong rider from the US who's participated in the CVR World Cup before, is in this race. So it looks like, Wes, we're going to have a really fast and explosive race on our hand over the next 40 minutes.
That's good. It's good that we're going to have this fast and hard racing. I mean, we've seen that it's been very consistent throughout these races. They have this absolute whop bombs dropped, and we see these riders out here now, like making these other riders start to have to think about it. And do they have any other friends in the pack, and whether they can help them chase this breakdown? Because this is looking a little bit dangerous now.
They got 4 seconds on the group. They should be caught. They should be slowly reeled in because unlike the last few weeks of racing, today we've actually got a chasing peloton. We've got a raging bull further back catching up because, as Wes pointed out to me, in the little cool down or warm up session prior to this live stream, he was like, Jesper, can you hear that? That's the rain. So down under right now, the weather is not too nice. And it looks like most of the riders have decided to go indoor today. So you can see 40, 50 riders further down chasing down the breakaway of the day.
And it looks like we've got Tim Searle on the comments on Facebook saying that it's Ben's Zwift number. So it's his number for his members number, 7497. So you are, for that number as well, if you enter that in to do the Gold Rush, is you need your member number for that to log into Zwift GPS as well. So you can use that. So not sure why maybe that Ben was playing Gold Rush and testing that out. So why he has his number on display. But thanks for that, Tim. Thanks for updating us.
What is this Gold Rush thing you're talking about?
So Gold Rush, it isn't actually in-game in Zwift. It's a third party. So we featured them throughout the events we just held for Australia and across our tour we did in New Zealand, Melbourne, Sydney, and also Brisbane. So with this, it's like sort of collect the coins like Mario Kart. So you've got to go around, collect all the coins up, and then the coins refresh each hour. And obviously you log in through your Zwift number through another third-party website, zwiftgps.com. And then you're able to play the game. But it's not actually in-game yet, but it's something that we'll be looking at for further down the track.
Sounds a bit complicated. Is it fun?
It is fun, yeah. A lot of the people that got involved throughout the ANZ tour really enjoyed it, and it was really good spectacle watching them race flat out to try and grab these coins because it is tactical as well. So think of it as Zwift orienteering. So you're going, after this coin, say if I'm going to go up against you, Jasper, and we're going the same direction, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to beat Jasper up this hill. I'm going to go back this way and grab the coins back around this part of the course.
Well,
so
obviously you'll never beat Jasper, period.
No, exactly. So I'm going to go the other way.
No, that sounds interesting. I know that's a concept that Zwift have been pushing slowly. And for me to really be, wow, it's going to be fun, is if they showed up in the game. Like that would push it over the edge. That's something I would really love to try. Imagine on course, kind of like, there was that event where you had to go out and like chase, like, was it squirrels or whatever it was in the game? Anyway, that'd be really fun to try with like Gold Rush, or like you had a coin on the top of Box Hill, a coin on the top of the Alpe d'Huez. Now, go get both within a certain time to get extra experience points or whatsoever. So that's interesting. Mm-hmm. What's another interesting thing is we've got Grupo Compacto. We've got 8 kilometers down, about 30 kilometers to go. We're about to turn left to go up the hill once again. And I'm sure we'll see another break try to be established as we got a Rafa Kit rider on the front here. It is Bashwell, who's trying to break things up, but he's choosing the wrong moment to do it because this is just before the hill. Everybody will be slowly picking up the pace because everyone is nervous. They're all jockeying for position at the front. They want to be top 5, top 6 going in. And Wes, just what's this climb going to do to the pack now?
Well, each time we see the riders go up this climb here, you know, we're going to get some of those accelerations. We're going to get some of the people want to test the waters. Even though it is early on, each one of these accelerations the riders do does take a toll at the end of the race. So we will see the pack start to whittle down from these efforts that are being unleashed. And we see one go now. Cameron Roberts again. He's not hiding the power he's putting out right now. And nearly 700 watts he just held onto there and holding a good 600 at the moment. And a nice cadence as well at 100 cadence now and steady. So he's at 176. So he's not at max heart rate there, but he's certainly spiked it up going towards 180 now. And it looks like he's sort of wants to sort of, yeah, again, like this may not be the winning move, but it could set things up to, you know, make sure that this doesn't become a sprint finish with a large pack. So that obviously Cameron wants to sort of break things up and obviously also get a good workout. He's certainly getting that right now.
It's going to weed out the boys from the men because that attack right there was insane. Having done the Classics course with some top end level Swifters like Zimmerman, like Gavin Dempster in Europe, seeing 12 watts per kilo and then accompanied with a featherweight, one of the strongest power-ups in the game. If you're not on your A game, if you're not quite over the 4 watts per kilo threshold, you're going to be blowing. As now when Cameron Roberts has done that attack, he's now not resting, but he's sitting at a comfortable pace with Leonard to try and keep the pace up so everyone else is still hurting as they're about to finish the first of 6 laps on this London course. Wes, on the screen, we saw an attack from Cameron Roberts. Up in the left-hand corner, there's like a Wahoo Bolt kind of bike computer. What exactly does the W, the RPM, and the BPMs mean?
So obviously you can see the fluctuating one with the W next to it. That's your watts, so your watts per kilo. So how much power the riders are generating. Then under that to the left-hand side of that, you can see at the moment sitting on 90. That's the RPM, so revolutions per minute. And then on the right-hand side of that, you see the 186 at the moment, 185. That's the beats per minute. So that's the current heart rate of the athlete. So these riders here now, like sitting at 180, like each time, like I said, they go over that little bit of a bump in the course up to the finish line, that hill. That's going to take a toll on the riders. And we'll see this pack, which is reasonably large right now, will start to dwindle down.
It's when you get to that 20-minute mark when everyone starts to slowly let it go, because on Zwift, there are categories. There's A's, there's B's, there's C's, and there's D's. Just like outside when you're racing, you've got your elites, your 1s, your 2s, your 3s, your 4s, and even in some countries, America, you got your 5s. Same thing works on Zwift. This was a mass start, so some of the B riders that are not as strong as the A riders, because the majority of the course is flat, they've managed to use the draft effect to sneak into this group. But the longer we get on, the longer the pace is this high, slowly more and more Bs are going to let go. Slowly more and more A riders who are not really feeling it are going to let go of this group. And we're going to be having a condensed group of about 10 to 15 strong riders that can win in the end. What's really interesting, Wes, is when we're talking about that top left-hand corner with the watts, the RPM, the beats per minute, they're very bespoke. They're different from rider to rider. If one rider is at 183, like we got Greg Watson right now, for a lot of these riders, that's like peak heart rate. That means they're dying, but for Greg, it's not. He can go a bit higher. How do you get to know these riders, Wes? How do we know that Greg Watson is not dying at 180 beats per minute?
Because we see them hold that and sustain that power. If he's dying, then we'd see him do this for maybe 10 to 15 seconds, and then we'd see Greg's avatar sort of drift backwards and go out the back. But these riders are able to sit at that threshold. So 180 beats is no easy feat. So they're able to sit at that fine line. And obviously Greg does a fair bit of riding, not just on Zwift but out the road as well. So they have a level of fitness. So these riders, if you do any one of the KISS races, not just the eCrit, if you do a KISS race, it's going to be hard. Like they're at that standard, and they're certainly one of the toughest races that I've done on Zwift have always been the KISS races. So, and these riders, like you said, like they sit on that red line, and then each time they get that extra push up and down the final climb leading into the finish, that's when either the rubber band will stretch right out, maybe come back, but sometimes it may snap. So that's when we see the real sort of fine-tuned riders come out and play.
The race situation on the road right now is fascinating because we had an initial breakaway over the top of Trafalgar Square with Roberts and Leonard. Last week they did exactly the same, but this week they've been joined by El Basel. So we got our Judy Italia pink jersey, we got the Innovation Alien, and we've got Basel in the RCC kit. They have 15 seconds on the chasing peloton. And they've been averaging, they've been taking turns at 5.5 watts per kilo, 6 watts per kilo. These are big boy numbers. And seeing that, like, just the gap is growing and growing and growing. When do we start seeing the peloton react? When do we see attacks from, like, the Bens, the Pats, the Adrians, Wes?
Well, usually that would happen in the last 3 laps of the race. But, like, I mean, Pat Shaw usually is quite dominant and would be... Last year, we'd see Pat probably in amongst this or going across this move. But, I mean, obviously some of these riders, they are getting back into racing as well. So, they may have actually shut down over the summer because some of these riders actually peak. Like Pat Shaw peaks for this. He said last time when I know Pat well, last time I contacted Pat, he said this eCrit series has forced me into structured training so he could be competitive. So it has pulled people back in and, to actually follow a structured training program to actually peak for this series. So that's something pretty unique that people are actually taking this quite seriously.
It's kind of like a real crit race, though. Like the length of the race, the effort the race is. If you look at Strava afterwards, or if you look on their actual activity on Zwift, you'll see their watts go up and down. They'll peak very often. And the effort itself is not much longer than 45 to 50 minutes unusual. So a guy like Pat Shaw, who's been pretty dominant outside in the real road, he should know how to cater to indoor racing, I guess. How would you train for this, Wes?
Obviously, the racing is very short, sharp efforts. So, it's very rinse and repeat in terms of hitting high numbers and recovering. So some efforts that are fluctuating are probably the best because, I mean, obviously holding a high power, over a set period will also increase this, but it's the stop starting in these sort of crit style races which really can take an effect. And we see that now that Cameron's just dropped off the back here a little bit. We saw that a couple of weeks back in the first one as well. He was sort of just distancing off the back a little bit. Sort of, I don't know whether he's using that downhill roll and recovering, but once you get out of that sort of 4 meter to 5 meter mark, you start to actually have to turn on the watts to catch back up. So I'm not sure what's going on there with Cameron. It's just maybe a new tactic he's trying.
He did text me last week because he did the same thing. He rewatched the entire broadcast. First comment was, Jesper, it's great to have you and Wes back. So thank you, Roberts. And if you're listening, right on, man. You're doing a great job so far. But he did admit to actually fuxing a tiny bit last week, attacking, sitting back, making everyone else pace in the front, thinking maybe he'd be tired. Interesting scenario that's just happened here, though, is that El Basel has gone all out for this breakaway. He even popped his aero power up prior to the climb to increase the speed, but that's actually seen him go out the back. So does Leonard and Roberts now wait for Basel, knowing they need that third rider to keep the peloton away, or do they keep the power on, because now they've dwindled it down to 2, which increases their odds by quite a substantial amount?
It does, and we're getting some feedback now from the viewers. So Matthew Locker is saying that he reckons the pack will catch them. So we'll see. Matthew, time will tell. It is still a fair way to go, but 2 of these riders out here now. We saw Leonard really strong last week, and Roberts we know has some power in those legs. So it'll be interesting to see whether we get some reaction there, whether we get Pat Shaw or someone else trying to liven the bunch up to see whether they can sort of start to reduce this time gap that they're starting to build out to.
But back in the bunch, one thing we usually see with the eCrit when it's the regular season, when it's the race series actually going on with points and everything, is that teams will show up with numbers. Like WP Task is always great with this. They have Ockerby, they have Dunn, they have Nazi, they have Sullivan. Like the list just goes on. I'm sure I forgot at least 5 other riders in there that can help chase down a break. We don't see that because it's preseason. It's ones and ones, and everyone's like, I'll race today. Maybe I won't. No, we'll see on the day. So a breakaway at this magnitude has got a really good chance of sticking out in the front because no one is really going to be interested in bringing this back. Like in the real world, it's very much the same thing. Why would you want to bring this back? Because you're just going to give away your own chances of actually having a good stage finish.
It is quite individualized at the moment, like in this preseason, like you're saying there. We don't have that team dominance. So, the Wolfpack would have been all over this and chasing this breakdown, closing it down for Dunn or the likes of Luke Ockerby. So yeah, it is a little bit more open, and it is a fair chance for breakaways to actually stay away. Especially on this circuit, we've seen breakaways really struggle to stay away because it does sort of come back together again. I mean, there is the surge up the hill, and the numbers, like I said, dwindle down in the group. But you know, as far as that goes, it looks like. Oh, sorry, I'm going to cross over to Leonard now. He's decided to lay it down and just to catch back up there. Looks like that Robert's distancing a little bit there, but they're back together and working. So I'm not sure whether he had maybe a bit of a puncher or something there, but he's back on the wheel. But yeah, we'll see these riders here.
Have you seen that, Wes? Basil was 3 seconds out for this group. He could not get back on, and he's now been caught by the peloton.
Yep. So, you know, as soon as you lose the wheel in these sorts of races, especially with the power that they're holding here, they're on that threshold power. You know, 330 watts and up to 360 here we see Roberts now, and his RPM has dropped from the 90s to 100s down to the 70s now. So he's grinding a little bit more now, but I'm sure he's got the power and the legs to keep grinding, because it's not, you know, these efforts aren't too long for these riders to sort of sustain by having a lower cadence. I'm just going to refresh my mic as I'm getting some feedback on the Facebook page that the mic isn't great and not working that great. So I'm just going to refresh things, Jesper, and then I'll join you shortly.
Go for it, Wes. So what we're seeing on the front now is that Leonard and Roberts are off the front, but you can see the effort. You can see the numbers they're producing to hold the chasing peloton at bay. They're sitting at 5.5 watts to almost 6 watts per kilo. And if you want to give this a go yourself, if you want to jump on Zwift and for 20 minutes, just try to hold 5.5 watts per kilo, you'll see just how much it hurts. Like these two guys, Cameron Roberts is SADA approved. I'm not sure about Leonard, but they've been verified to actually be able to sustain this effort outside as well as inside. So we know this effort is real, and being able to produce these numbers is incredible. And we'll see if the number is going to start to dip as we've got another 18 kilometers of racing. We're officially almost just about over halfway now, so we'll see if the numbers can sustain that. The gap is still only 20 seconds, 19 seconds, with a concerned effort, with a collaborative effort from the peloton behind. We got Ben Hill, who's raced outside a lot. Adrian Timmers, big racer in the UK. I think I said the States. I'm in the UK anyway. Sorry, Adrian. And they could come back. It could definitely be a great race in our hands, and we'll see if Roberts and Leonard starts looking at each other. I know last week they went through the live stream, both of them, and Leonard commented a few times saying, yeah, I attacked. I knew Linton Savatsky was a great sprinter. I didn't want to take him to the line. I think it's somewhat the same scenario that's happening today. Let's just see. Here we go. That way you don't have to see Wes's frozen camera. We've got an attack off the front. Roberts and Leonard in the eCrit series. Power-ups have been popped a lot so far. We've seen both Roberts and Leonard, including Basil, who was actually in this group, taking the trio down to a duo. He popped an aero power-up, did his best in the front, and then he dropped back to the chasing peloton. We got Roberts on the front, 6 watts per kilo, but he's using his draft, his truck. It's a drafting power-up, which increases, I believe, the length of the draft or the strength of the draft. Again, this is one of the urban myths of Zwift racing that's yet to actually be concluded. But yeah, he's off the front. He's using it. May not be the best move, but he's got the watts to back it up. Wes, have you refreshed your microphone?
Yes. Can you hear me any better now, Jesper? I just had a bit of a play with the settings, but it seemed like everything was in order. But I was just getting that feedback there that it wasn't great, so I thought I'd try and refresh things, see how that is.
We'll leave that vote up to the Facebook viewers, the mixer viewers. So let us know in the comment sections, because to me, Wes, your golden voice sounds all the same.
Thanks, Jesper. That's good to know. So I hope they didn't miss anything there. Looks like that Cameron Roberts and Leonard are still out in front. And we're getting a few comments now that Wes raced with Keith over the Watopia Mountain pretzel last week. Yes, so that's what I was saying, Jesper, that I actually had a good race and tussle with Leonard over the pretzel. So he certainly can climb as well as these crit style races.
Ooh, Keith wasn't involved in last year's eCrit. He's one of the, at least not that I remember from memory, but he could be one that if and when the KISS eCrit actually gets officially underway, he could be one of the riders to look out for, because last year it was sprint on sprint on sprint on sprint. But if Troy Herfoss and Pat Shaw could get company in these breakaways, we could have a real race scenario on our hands.
Yeah, it would certainly open things up, and it would be quite difficult for if those select riders that you mentioned went away together. It would be quite difficult for the likes of the Wolfpack to bring that back. So they'd actually have to change their tactics to maybe even be in some of these strong breakaways. When you're getting the likes of those names up there, you know, with Troy Herfoss and Pat Shaw as well in the mix, then it's going to be hard for someone who like Linton Zavatsky, who's a great sprinter, to wait for that bunch kick, which probably is going to happen. Ben Hill is also one that's quite dominant in breakaways and loves sort of a hard style race. We see him sort of sitting in here. He may have already had a big training day today, or he may be in Asia somewhere because he's racing a little bit with a team across in Asia as well as in Australia.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see once the race series gets underway, to see all the big names come back on and race Zwift, Watopia, race London Rage. Well, never really seen Richmond in the eCrit series, but who knows? Maybe it'll be brought back. It's going to be interesting to see how they play out, because the reason why Roberts and Leonard's attacked has to be the fact that Zavatsky's in this main peloton. And if you bring Zavatsky to the line, as we saw last week, Linton has mastered how to sprint on an indoor trainer. He just manages to hold high wattages for such a long time. It doesn't seem humanly possible, and that's why we're seeing Roberts and Leonard attack off the front. But Wes, they've been averaging a good 5.2 watts per kilo in this front group for 27 minutes. Can they keep it up?
I think from going off past eCrits, they can keep this up, but it does come at a price. A lot of these riders will comment on this live broadcast afterwards. We had plenty of comments saying that it usually takes them a couple of days to recover from this. So if they structure this in, because some of these races will actually obviously race on the weekend and they're avid cyclists, so they will actually use this as their workout, obviously workout throughout the week, and then they'll have a couple of recovery days, maybe one more little sharpen up before their weekend, club race or event that they're targeting. So yeah, it's certainly a good way to get that in. We're just getting another comment now saying from Ben that Keith smashed Peaks challenge, which is in Victoria, in the Alps of Victoria, in 9 hours. So yeah, that's a solid time for I think it's 240k and over 4,000 meters climbing. So it's a solid day out.
Oh, yeah. Well done, Leonard. He's strong. He races for Team Innovation on Zwift. The one of the sister series to this Kiss eCrit race is the CVR World Cup, which is happening also today over on CycleView if you want to watch that. That's coming to the end, and we're about to have a live finale in Vancouver in the end of June. And we're going to see at least 3 innovation riders make it to the finals. It's going to be Ryan Christensen, it's going to be James Phillips, and Stevie Young by the looks of it. Innovation is just a team that's just got strong riders on tap. They literally go, you want a sprinter? Here's one. Here's James Phillips. Do you want a rider who can go in the breakaway? Here's Keith Leonard. Do you want somebody who can smash you up Box Hill? Well, here's Ryan Christensen. Some teams on Zwift, I just imagine if they were outside in the Pro Conti Tour West, they would have a great chance of taking away stage wins in like a race like Tour of Japan that's going on right now.
Yeah, Japan would be a great one. We've had some of the Pat Shaw is actually linked with the Benelong's Swiss Wellness team, and has rode for that team in the past, so he knows some of those riders quite well. And AJ would be probably one that I'd love to see do one of these eCrits, because he's a very fast sprinter. He's won, I think he's won about 6 stages of Tour of Japan. So he'd be one to great. It would be awesome to get him involved. I'm just getting another comment on Facebook from Ben Gove, just saying that Linton won the Chop last night. So the Chop is a handicap race, and I'm pretty sure that's at 10 past 6 on a Monday night. So that's so with a handicap race, what I mean by that is that riders will start in their grades. Obviously, the slower grades will start first, and then there'll be a time gap that they'll have to actually wait and let those riders go. And then the A grade will wait, say, X amount of time, maybe 5 minutes, and then they'll actually have to chase after the group. So they work together as a team almost to make sure you catch the front riders. So very much people will be familiar in Australia with the track scene of a handicap track race. Something that's usually quite prominent around the Christmas time. The bringing Tasmania back in the map. Tasmanian Christmas carnivals is something that is quite popular in that style of racing. And Linton's saying that he's paying for that right now. So, and Troy Hurstfoss was third. So Linton, hang in there, mate. And we see that these races, they use this broadcast as well for their advantage to see what's happening, whether we can call out whether someone's fading in front or whether they're getting stronger. So great to see that the races are tuning in as well.
Troy Herfoss has gone on the attack. No, I'm just kidding, guys. To beat Troy Herfoss is insane, though, because I think most Australians out there, most cycling fanatics, have actually seen his hero ride earlier in the year at the Aussie Nationals. So definitely proves that Linton Sawatzky has got some power in those legs, but he might be paying for it last night. But as big as that peloton is behind him, he just needs to sit in. And I know "just needs" is a very derogative term considering how fast they're going, but he's got so much power that he can afford to rest, sit in, and then wait for a potential sprint. The gap is 19 seconds. All it takes is one match from either Pat Shore or Ben Hill, or it's down to 18 seconds or 8 seconds, and somebody else needs to burn a match, and the breakaway's caught.
That's it. I mean, Linton is great at using that foxing technique. He knows he's fast. He will work under circumstances, to make sure that he keeps the pace. So he'll roll through to a turn, but he's not one to try and be the strongest in the group. He's one to be the smartest and make sure that he uses that fast twitch power that he has to get involved. And we just also, Troy Herfoss averaged a 4.9 watts per kilo for the race last night. So they had a pretty hard race there also last night in the chop. But coming back to Cameron Roberts here now, he's at 109 RPM, so 110. So he's riding a really crazy high cadence now. I mean, not crazy high, but like a very decent cadence. When you're getting up over 100, like that's, he's up to 110. He's eased it back now. Maybe you heard me in the broadcast. And he's sitting at that 179 heart rate. So just under that 180. He's got some beats to play with, but he's sitting at a nice threshold really for him right now.
What he was doing, Wes, is that he was trying to let Leonard take a turn on the front. So just like in the real world, there's a draft effect on Zwift. So when you have a 2-up breakaway like this, you want to have a rider on the front like Leonard do a stint at 6.5 watts per kilo while Robert sits at 4. And then they swap it and they swap it and they swap. And they do like that until the end. So they have a gentleman's agreement to get as far as possible and then take it to the sprint and let the strongest man win. So now Robert's going to come around with his aero power up and he's going to do the next turn and Leonard gets back in. So on Zwift, there's no chance to freewheel, because if you freewheel, you get dropped way off the back. You always have to keep the chain tight, but you can decrease the power output to go behind somebody else. So what Roberts did is he changed the gear, he spun a bit over, which resulted in the watts coming down, and then when he's in the back, he changed the gear again, brought the RPM down, but the power up. And it's really, really, really smart. And it's small gamesmanship like that that's going to make Roberts and Leonard stronger riders compared to somebody who's really strong outside that just jumps on Zwift because they see there's a prize at the eCrit or a prize at CVR. It is invaluable to spend time on Zwift and practice these racing. Because Wes, you raced outside as well as inside now on Zwift. What's the main difference between the two? What is the biggest welcome to the big leagues moment you've had when you've raced the big guys on Zwift?
I would say probably, like doing a race like the after party races like the Pretzel, certainly, it's like that your hour of power sort of thing. I mean, obviously the after party isn't an hour of power like as in length, but it's a full on effort, and your heart's in your mouth, and when you start off, you're going over that threshold. And it's very similar to a criterium race or a crit race, and that's why we call this race the eCrit series, because it is like a criterium in the terms of aspects of the dynamics of the race, the stop-startiness, and especially like if you go off the front here, I mean, you can really like these riders off the front are getting quite a unique and different ride, obviously, to the riders in the pack right now. They're really working for it hard, where the other riders, like you can use that draft effect, you're sitting in. And then if you have a few riders do those, those pulls and actually have teammates that bring this break back, with the sort of a Pac-Man effect of getting them gobbled up. Some of these riders like Linton, who sits in and looks after his legs, then can have a totally different ride. And you'll see that in the watts per kilo of the average. So even though these races may all finish together in the end, some riders have worked extremely hard, and other riders have saved energy and utilized their strengths if they're a sprinter. So that's where, in the real world, this correlates as well. So you can use the tactics for the real world, and it applies also to Zwift. And that's where some people haven't quite worked that out yet. So when they work that out, if they are really strong, they'll have good results anyway. But if they work some tactics into that, they can be, the champions of Zwift. So we'd like to see that progress.
Definitely. It also comes down to the whole, why are you on Zwift? What's your main objective by being on Zwift? Because it ultimately is a training platform that found itself falling in love with the racing a tiny bit. And the number one reason for many to be on Zwift is to increase wattage, to train, to find a motivation to jump on the turbo trainer. And if you're doing a race like this and you're sitting in the pack, for most of the riders, they'll be sitting in the green zone or the yellow zone. If you're seeing the graph at the bottom, the endurance zones. But for guys like Roberts and Leonard right now, they're getting one hell of a workout, because I'm pretty sure that the wattage has not dropped down like just below threshold at any time in this race. They've really killed themselves, and they're going to get one hell of a workout in. They may not win the race, but at the end of the day, when they go outside again and they do their Peaks Challenge or their Chop Race or Hire and Hounds, whatever you call them down under, they will be the ones that are really contesting them, because they put in the hours, they put in the effort. But then it comes down again to, why are you racing? Is it to win potential prize money at the end, or is to get stronger? Interesting.
Yeah. And that comes back down to, obviously the uniqueness of Zwift and the user and the community. Some people, like I said, are using this to actually just train purely for this eCrit series. Other people are using it as a training tool to improve their weekend racing and their club racing and riding. And then also with this, brings a great benefit of improving your actual fitness and general health as well. I mean, the whole thing of Zwift and sort of what Eric Min has said a lot in a lot of speeches, if you listen to any podcasts and things, is the whole idea of Zwift and the why factor of Zwift is more people, more active, more often. So that's for us. It's just about people being involved and using the platform to improve their overall lifestyle, fitness, and health. So that's why, how I got involved from my own personal experience with Zwift, and my Zwift sort of, pathway. How I got involved was purely through the racing scene of it. That appealed to me. I was still racing at the time, and it was a way that I could get through some pretty cold winters time in Tassie to get involved in some of the KISS races that are, like I said, are really quite hard and simulate a really hard criterium race style. If you go out and do, I know Ben was doing some, Ben Hill was doing some rides out the road, and then would come in and finish off with some racing on Zwift as well. So I know that Caleb Ewan with Kevin Poulton has done that simulation as well. So you can actually work at the workouts in Zwift as well. You can actually drag them across from different platforms and training platforms like today's plan and training peaks. So that can go across. So actual files from Milan San Remo over the Poggio and Suppressor, which are the last two climbs of Milan San Remo, he could actually simulate that exact workout to the watts and what he had needed to hold. So in terms of that as well, go out and do a road ride, and then he was finishing with a simulation. So there's lots of different ways to use Zwift, and it certainly makes for a very creative and very active community.
My favorite part of the whole Caleb Ewan story is the amount of times that Matt Heyman and Caleb Ewan send pictures of when they're on Zwift, because they're outside in their Porsche, wherever they are, and they're like, oh, we're in the pain cave again. And here's tiny little Ewan on his tiny little bike next to Matty Heyman, who is quite big in real life. So it's really fun to see how Zwift has kind of revolutionized the way you train and have fun on the bike, because it's such a mechanical, it's such a doom, 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 like you got to do this, you got to hit that zone, you got to do this training. Whereas Zwift has just put a carrot in front of you, or for most cyclists, they put a nice little beer out in front of you that you got to chase now as you get stronger. And that is, if you're not on Zwift already, if you're watching this on Mix or on Facebook, or you're on the fence, and this is the first time you've ever seen about it, the entry level or the entry barrier might be a tiny bit high, but once you get over that barrier, it's just rolling from there. It's just so much fun. And I'd like to consider myself the transformation Swift has had on me. When I initially got on Swift, I was 83 kilos. I was a tad bit overweight. I really could not ride a bike. And just from having fun meeting people on Swift and racing Swift and getting stronger and wanting to progress from the D category, the lowest, to the A's, I've put in the time. I've met great people such as Wesley Salzberger, who's on the other end of this. It's just so good for you. And I can honestly say this. I mean, it is so much fun, and I hope you consider to jump on at some point and just giving it a go, whether it's in the Melbourne Rafa shop after an espresso and an avocado on toast. Yes, I'm still advertising on that 2 weeks in a row now. Or it's at your local spin class with Wes Salzberger on a watt bike. Doesn't matter. Get on the bike.
That's it. So we're just getting a couple of comments now. Someone's saying, Hacken is saying people are also adventurous on Zwift and they come in and join an attack or breakaway, where in real life they could be chickens and wheel suckers. So what's your response to that one, Jasper?
They would wheel suck in real life, but I think it's the other way around. On Zwift, so many are so scared to attack because you can see all the numbers at all times, and there's no delusions. You can see somebody is not suffering because their beats per minute are lower than they should be. And in real life, you're like, I can't actually like look over and look at his Wahoo Bolt or whatever, so I'm going to go on the attack. Like, that's the difference to me, at least. What do you think, Wes?
For me, I would say I disagree a little bit as well. Like on Zwift, I wasn't afraid. I mean, I knew my fitness was at a good base, but I wasn't afraid to attack, and I probably attacked a lot more in the Zwift racing than I would in the real life. That's for sure.
Really? Maybe it's just the fact that over time, I've become a pretty good sprinter, so I just sit in and know if I take him to a sprint, I'll beat every single one of these guys, especially if I have an aero power up. So I'll just sit in. There's no reason for me to attack.
I guess it comes back to your characteristics of what suits you as a racer as well. You know, obviously you're a Linton Savatsky, and you know I'm a Pat Shaw who will just go out and just attack all day long and make the race. If I don't win it, I'll make the race very difficult for everyone else to try and win.
True. So we're coming on to the final lap. Wendy Superfan, I did buy a cowbell. I just forgot to bring it to the office. So we'll do this, everybody. Last lap. Here we go. Round of applause. Great attack.
I'll have to pick up with Wendy and make sure that we utilize the cowbell and let her know that we actually have our own now. So there goes the cowbell. Jesper's rung it now, and we'll come through, and we're still at the 300, 400 watt mark now here by Roberts. So these two aren't letting up now, are they, Jesper? They're still holding that power down.
And the pack behind them is a group they've actually lapped out on course. That's how fast they've gone. They've lapped the seas, and now they're keeping up the pace again. Leonard and Roberts, the final lap of racing. It's a two-man breakaway, and I think there is no doubt in our minds right now. It's going to be between Leonard and Roberts, the two strongest of the race. They went onto the break on lap 2, 17 minutes in about. They snapped the pack. And they're going to have this pace all the way to the end. Wes, you know, one of my goals in life is to get on Wendy Superfan's board outside her house. You know how she's got the whole Giro d'Italia BMC squad or whatever? I want a little designated Jesper and West corner. Like, just right down there. Like, can that happen, Wendy?
I'm sure that can happen, and I don't want that to happen because I think there's probably some more eligible candidates to go up on that board than me and you, Justin.
No. So, yeah. Who can make you laugh while watching people chase Pixel on Zwift every Tuesday evening? Come on. You got to give yourself some credit, Wes. All your dad jokes, they got to amount to something. Otherwise, why are we doing this?
Also, we've got Andrew Paget, who's in the group as well. So good to see Andrew staying in the group. So well done, Andrew. Andrew is relatively new to Zwift, has picked it up in the last 6 months or so. So good to see him in there and amongst it. And we've got Anthony Ciano, the Zwift kid, saying he's just tuned in and said, good luck to all the riders. Great work, Jesper and Wes. I'm sure we'll see Anthony Ciano, the Zwift kid, get involved. He's one strong rider, and I think he got snapped up by Team Vision, was it, Jasper?
He did, but we have another attack on the front. Cameron Roberts, relentless, just trying to break that rubber bank to Leonard. They've got about 2 kilometers to go now. They've been averaging 5 watts per kilo, if not more, and they've still got more left in the tank. Wes, I think it's the time we have to make a prediction. Who are you going with, Leonard or Roberts?
I'm going to have to go Roberts. Roberts is quite a strong a strong rider, and I think he's going to probably just have the edge. It's going to be really close, and it will come down a little bit to tactics as well. Has Roberts saved his aero power up? Has he accumulated one in the last lap? I haven't seen any of these riders use a power up in the last little bit.
Leonard
I did see Leonard used one, but
yes.
But Roberts, I haven't seen use one. So yeah, maybe he's got that power up and he's guarding it.
He does. I think he does. We saw Leonard. Another attack from Roberts, though. Another one off the front. 14 watts per kilo. And he's just trying to break Leonard. Leonard used his drafting power up over the line. He may have been given another power up once he crossed that line and he wanted to get the aero. But this attack from Roberts, I think your prediction with Roberts is going to be spot on. But if Leonard can bridge this gap, oh no, he's bringing it down to 4. The gap is out to 2-3 seconds. This could be it, ladies and gentlemen. If he does not bring that back, if he does not get back in that draft, it's game over for Keith Leonard. And we could see Roberts take a second win out of 3 in the Aussie eCrit of broadcasted races, Wes. What do you got to say to Roberts right now?
Keep riding Roberts. I chose Roberts because I know that he's a strong rider. We know that Keith is also strong, but I think Roberts has just got a little bit of an edge on Keith at the moment. But we could see, Keith do a little bit more structured training, as we talked about with Pat, and maybe start to be able to challenge Roberts in the weeks to come. So that'll be interesting to see. But both these riders, very strong ride to stay away here. We did say that it was a little bit unstructured, obviously, without the team aspect coming into it yet, with the series not officially starting. But that certainly opens it up for these riders to take it on and have a real challenge and battle it out. And we did see that here. And Roberts looks like he's probably not going to be caught now by Leonard. He's going to probably hold on all the way.
I wouldn't call it that early. It's 3 seconds. You can see the rider behind him chasing. That is Keith Leonard. 3 seconds back, 2 seconds back. We're about 1.5 kilometers away from the finish line now. And if Keith somehow can just bridge that gap down to 6 meters, he's in the draft again. And it could be all over. We actually got the peloton. It's a bit of a mess now out on course because it's all brand together. But down in the peloton, they're also hitting the climb for the final time of running now. And they could sweep up Mr. Leonard out on road if they go fast enough, but it doesn't look like they have the gap required to bridge that back. Let's go back up to Cameron Roberts near the front. Keith Leonard just off the back here, and he's not going to get back on par with Cameron Roberts. He can see him up there, but he can't bridge it across. And it's worth noting that Cameron Roberts is SADA approved. If you look over on the Great Zwift Power, you'll see a little set next to his name. It means he's been SADA approved. So SADA is a governing body on Zwift run by the community that basically want to test riders that look like they could be winning the tour and see if they're actually this good in the real world. And it turns out that Cameron Roberts, who races the NRS, the racing scene down under, actually is able to produce these watts outside as well as indoor. Therefore, he's got the tick next to his name. But therefore, when we see him produce this power, we just look on in awe because we know it's legit. He's on a calibrated smart trainer. He's got the watts to match the outside. And Cameron Roberts of GPM Stulch is going to take today's victory in the eCrit Series West with Leonard. Leonard's going to have to chase. He's going to have to hold that pack behind him, but they're 30 seconds off. Are they going to catch him?
I don't think they're going to be able to, obviously not be able to catch Roberts out in front, but Leonard's really going to have to make sure that he holds onto that power now. Looks like he's able to, he's quite low in the cadence right now. We see it at the 70 mark. So that was Keith. And now we're crossing over to Roberts. His nice high cadence, 100 mark. So it looks like that Roberts obviously going to take this out, but Keith is really going to have to put his effort in now to make sure he holds on, because that pack is going to be exploding behind him. There's going to be lots of attacks, and we see that Roberts coming up to see Woodfall now. So Craig Woodfall is actually from Tasmania, a local lad there. So it looks like he's going to catch him on the line, but not part of this series, but having a ride on Zwift. So good to see Craig Woodfall in amongst it there, getting involved. Half involved with the eCrit series. Here comes the pack now, Jesper. I'll let you call it from here.
300 meters to go. Aero powers popped everywhere. We're on Linton Savatsky. He's in that C-kit and was going to see if he can catch the ride out in front, but it actually looks like Dixon MD Racing is going to be the fastest to the line with Linton Savatsky. Has got the draft and not the aero. Ben Hill is going to take a podium spot. Is he? It's going to be close. Too difficult to call. You're going to have to head over to swiftpower.com. Sorry for the bit of a messy finish there, but we were trying to catch Roberts. We're trying to catch Leonard as the hero efforts they put in crossed the line. We wanted to give them their fair share of attention as they crossed it. The peloton behind, I simply cannot call it. You're going to have to head over to swiftpower.com to look at the results for yourself. We will be back next week, same time, here on Zwift, Facebook, on Twitch, on Mixer, on YouTube, wherever we are in the world, on Instagram. Go follow Go Zwift, Oz, and New Zealand. I believe that's run by Wes. Anyway, Wes, anything you want to say here on the falling rope?
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations to all the competitors tonight. Great to see a good amount of races in there amongst tonight. I think we had over 150 on the start line, so that is awesome. Great to see everyone involved, and we look forward to catching you all next week. And well done to Cameron Roberts. He just said that hurt, 350 watt average. So well done, Cameron Roberts.
Cameron Roberts, go get yourself a beer. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you guys next Tuesday.